Hello everyone, welcome back to just another F1 podcast here on the Apex Motorsport. This is Season 2, Episode 25, and it's the final podcast of Season 2. We've come to the end of the season, but we have for a little while now. We're into the brand new year, but we're going to throw back to 2021 to discuss sort of the season overall, and because there hasn't been too much news since the end of the season, if we take the whole Abu Dhabi appeal thing out of the equation, there hasn't been too much more. So we're going to do a little awards sort of ceremony in this podcast and just have a chat about the season in general. But I'm joined by this one by, of course, Ryan. Ryan, thank you for joining me again for this one. And usually throw you onto the spot by asking you your 3-word race review. Just your 3-word season review.
Well, and then in one word, that was, and then another word, interesting.
Okay, I'll let you with 4 words. We'll hyphenate a couple of them. Will be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a very interesting season. It's a season I don't think anyone could really write the script for, especially the final race of the season, which we discussed in the last episode, which was after the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. So we don't need to go into that too much. We're going to talk about everything that's happened since that. But Ryan, we obviously know Mercedes, they didn't pursue their appeal into the race result any further. I think there's different rumours floating about online, some of which say that they were told that Michael Massey would step down. But the official line is they didn't go ahead with the appeal. The promise that the FIA and Formula One would fully investigate the race, how it ended, and they seem to be doing that, but it doesn't seem going to be happening until end of February. That's when the results are going to be confirmed to the public or made public knowledge. So Ryan, just have you been able to make sense of really anything that's happened since then, or do you think this is just a bigger mess that's just unfolding more over time?
I'm gonna be honest with you. See, if you didn't have Twitter, if you didn't have Twitter, realistically, after about the first week after it happened, so that full week after the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, it was the main Lewis Hamilton headline stories. You'd see it everywhere, whether that would be even on Facebook, Instagram, such and such. But if you have Twitter, it's still going on today, so you just can't get rid of it. So the overall effect of what happened doesn't seem to bother too many people, apart from those of which who are on Twitter. So the way I see it is, yes, it's still sort of open for debate, but I feel that many people at this point are just like Kimmy and just want to forget all about it and just enjoy the fact that it happened and enjoy the fact that there's another season coming up, and hopefully that it will be managed a lot better this season. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we still haven't got any official confirmation that Michael Massey will be continuing in his role as race director. There was a few things circulating a few days ago that on, I think it was the FIA website, their hierarchy of the organisation, that he's been removed from that, and there has been rumours that he has been sacked, but there's also been rumours that he's continued on, and that's what rumours are. It's people usually, especially on F1 Twitter, making things up in order to get as many people to the site as possible. Something I think you agree we pride ourselves not doing, because we don't have official sources like they do. Some don't even have sources at all. But Ryan, do you think if Michael Massey continues in his role, it'll be a good sort of, it'll be a mistake that he'll be able to learn from, and he might become a better race director from this, because he knows if he makes a bad call, there's going to be so much criticism and he'll be under the spotlight? Or do you think he's someone that he's under the spotlight as it is at the moment, he'll be under pressure to make the correct calls, and there may be calling in question whether, because if he recognises now that he made a mistake, that he might be slightly more biased in this season? Do you think that maybe it's the right time for him to step away and let someone else, or do you think he should continue in this role?
Do you know what's funny? You know what popped into my head straight away, and I'm actually smiling right now. This just reminds me of the whole Manchester United situation with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Ollie is essentially Michael Massey or vice versa. Massey's in the sport. He had a okay first season, and this season he's sort of dropped completely. So we seen what happened to Ollie. He got the sack. Well, we see that with Massey. Will he get the sack? Because overall, he hasn't been the most consistent with his decisions over the season, whether it's to do with track limits, who does have track limits, who doesn't have track limits on qualifying, track limits on race day, things like incidents where the other driver would actually get penalised more because he actually was in breach of 2 offences, even though it was caused because of someone else's 1 offence. I think he's at this point where he knows the rules, but he just doesn't know how to implement them properly to ensure that all parties, are happy with the decision that's going to be made. Obviously, nobody's ever going to be happy if the decision's made against them, but if it's within reason and the fans can understand that, then I can see that, he's not wrong. He has made the decision in accordance with the rules. However, as we know, what happened wasn't exactly in accordance with the rules. So has he just overstepped himself? Has he been put into a position where he wasn't qualified? Yes. I'm just going to say yes. I'm not going to say maybe, because he has been put in underqualified, into this position. And he's just trying to do the best that he can. Obviously, if you appoint someone else who's more familiar with the sport, even more than Massey, and understands the rules and regulations, understands the impact it's going to have on teams, the race, the flow of the race, how it's going to be seen to the public and the fans. I think that's what we really are just looking for. Massey has been okay until now, but things are just going the best for him.
Yeah, I think it'll be a question of how much the drivers and teams trust him now, and will they be pushing the limits even more, because they know that, if they make a mistake or two, they have a full race, a championship deciding decision to sort of base their argument on as well. So it'll be interesting to see. I personally don't know what he will be doing. I think I can see why he should stay in the sport to redeem himself, and is there anyone else out there that would be better? I don't know. But then I could also see a fresh start with fresh regulations, just someone new in to help manage it, or someone that has experience to assist him in the role, because I think he has there's too much pressure on him. If there was someone who spoke to the teams, or the team principals, that's obviously been banned for next season, but if they did have it in, someone that would speak to the team principals or whoever in the pit wall, then could then pass on those comments to Massey at an appropriate time, and not everyone trying to phone him whenever first of all, a safety car was on track, which his priority is the safety of the driver who has brought out the safety car, while also F1 politics going on in the background. So there's a lot involved in the role. It's a high pressure role, and anyone who has a job will be under a lot of scrutiny, especially now. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But one of the drivers that was affected, the driver that was affected by Massey's decision is, of course, Lewis Hamilton, Sir Lewis Hamilton now. We haven't heard from him since the race, really. We've seen him appear back at the Mercedes base at Brackley to say goodbye to Valtteri Bottas, but apart from that, we haven't seen him. We know Mercedes didn't show up to the FIA Gala to be presented with their Constructors' Championship, and there is rumours speculating that Hamilton may walk away. Now, the latest I've heard from Andrew Benson and BBC is that Lewis Hamilton will be making his decision once the results of the investigation is revealed. But the talk is that won't be until the start of free practice in Bahrain, which means he'll have missed all of testing, and Mercedes will be left with a situation where they have someone who may or may not jump in the car during practice. So Ryan, the question I'm going to throw to you is, do you think Hamilton is going to walk away? And if so, who would you replace him with?
First off, no. I cannot see it happening. I think right now he's just creating media speculation, and he's just hyping it up to oh no, what if he goes and all this, and then all of a sudden he's gonna be like, don't worry guys, I'm back. And everyone's gonna be like, "Yay, Lewis is back! Yay, he's not going to leave us like Kimmy did." And yeah, I just don't have time for that. But what I would say is, if Hamilton was to go, I'd slip my boy in. You know, a guy who's been out of a seat for a wee while. And I'm not talking about Daniel Kvyat because that would just end up on a big explosion. I'm on about Nico the Hulk Hulkenberg. I want to see Nico back. I want to see him back ASAP. He deserves a seat. I love him. He's the best. He's one of my favourite German drivers. Sides obviously is the greats of Schumacher and Vettel. And if I've forgotten someone, I'm in trouble. Him, Nico Rosberg. Oh well, he wasn't that special. I'd rather have the other Nico. I don't think Hamilton. Oh, I was just gonna finish.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, Hamilton. I really do just think this is all just sort of hype around it. You know, him just trying to create a scene to make the FIA sort of waver their decision in favour of him to keep him in the sport because he's such a big public figure. And without Hamilton, they could see, I don't know, ticket sales or something drop. I don't know. There'll be some sort of argument he'll have for doing something with his publicity. I don't know. I'm just really speculating. I'm not really stating anything important, but I'm just speculating on the fact that it could be just something to do silly things like that. But well.
Yeah, I think if I personally don't think Hamilton's going to walk away. I think him being so close to the 8th title is he'll come back fired up and will just want to dominate this season. And I think this will be his final season in the sport. He's got a contract for this season and next season, I do believe, but I think some tell me this will be his final season because I think George Russell will really push him all the way, and Russell will definitely the following season be going for the title, if not this season. But if Hamilton was to retire, I think you're looking at Sebastian Vettel, who's heavily linked as a replacement, which for continuity would probably be a good move. Getting some experienced driver, multiple world champion in. I think Vettel's a little bit past it though, but he could get race wins if he's in that car. But for me, it's the channel favourite, Pierre Gasly. It can't be overlooked. It just depends how tight that Red Bull contract is, and the chances of Red Bull releasing him to Mercedes is very unlikely, although Mercedes could easily pay him out of his contract. Esteban Ocon's the other driver who is probably, out of all the drivers, probably most likely because he still has that Mercedes links, and Alpine have a scenario where they could easily replace him with Oscar Piastri. So there's so many possible drivers. I don't think they'll replace him with someone outside the sport like Nico Hulkenberg. I think that if you join the Constructors' Champions, it has to be a driver in the sport or Oscar Piastri. That's, for me, a chance. But then Nick de Vries and Stoffel Van Dorn, Nick de Vries, a Formula E champion, is an option. Van Dorn, I don't think, will be sort of a last replacement if they need someone linked to Mercedes. But yeah, I don't see the scenario where Hamilton leaves, so it's only real speculation at this point. But Ryan, I think we should move on to our awards. We've got a couple of awards to go through. We've got a couple of nominees. We've probably left some drivers out that you think at home should be nominated, some that we've nominated you don't believe. Let us know in the comments below who you would give for each award as well. But we're going to start off, Ryan. We'll go. We have a list, but we'll go. Yeah, we'll go in order here. Driver of the season. The nominees are Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen, Pierre Gasly, George Russell, and Carlos Sainz. Ryan, talk me through the nominees and why, very quickly on each of them, why you think they deserve to be included.
Okay. Lewis Hamilton, driver of the season. Let's see. Didn't have the greatest of starts. He also had that mistake with the magic button. This is just putting him down. I'm just putting him down for a second. I suppose that's really all I can think of. Apart from that, he's had sort of quite a good season battling Max Verstappen. He really picked up the pieces in the second half of the season where the Mercedes engine and this Mercedes car started to really become advantageous over the Red Bull. Yeah, he's up there. Max Verstappen, obviously the world champion Super Max. He's up there too. Driver of the season could be, his first World Drivers' Championship, which many can only dream of. Yeah, Pierre Gasly. Now we like Pierre. He's really good. We've seen him. He's stepped up his A game this season yet again in that AlphaTauri. I'd say he's definitely up there. I don't think he was only out qualified maybe once or twice, was it, by Yuki Tsunoda, and even at that he still remained above him in the races, except for Abu Dhabi, I believe. So pretty good season. George Russell, obviously, as we know, first points of the season, of his career actually. He got that nice little P2 finish, or well, would you even call it a finish? P2 qualifying in the wet race, and I'm going to get it wrong. I'm going to say Belgium, was it?
It was.
Oh, it was Belgium. Okay, I'm actually good at guessing.
The race that never happened. Well, yeah, it did happen, but didn't have a green flag race.
We had a safety car race, so he got some major points there and got his first podium. Whether that warrants him driver of the season or taxi man of the season, up to you. And then Carlos Sainz, first season in Ferrari, outperformed teammate Charles Leclerc, who was expected to be the Ferrari protege. So to see Carlos overtake him, quite the spectacle. Battling most of the time for either fifth and fourth. So really good car placement, very good consistent drives. He's definitely up there.
So who would you choose then as your driver of the season?
Ah, come on! You can't make me go through the list and you not decide. Well, who you
I will decide. I will decide.
Okay.
Well, I'll go first. I'm torn between Pierre Gasly and Carlos Sainz. Max Verstappen as well. I think Verstappen, he won the title. I think it was only one race where he finished that he didn't finish either first or second. So based on pure results, Verstappen mathematically won the title. Therefore, he should be driver of the season. But we love technicalities around here. Hamilton, he had a good season, but for me it wasn't his best, so I wouldn't consider him for this. But I think he was good enough to be a contender. George Russell had a very good season, and he's very much deserving of that Mercedes seat. But I think Carlos Sainz for me was driver of the season because he jumped to that Ferrari team, beat Charles Leclerc, was very, very consistent, and given he's a driver that before McLaren, many were writing off saying he will never have a chance of race winning, getting podiums, and the fact that he has claimed multiple now podiums in his career, I don't think any of which have actually been shown on TV or he's actually stood on the podium at the end of the race. But for me, Carlos Sainz, driver of the season. Gasly's been good, but Sainz for me just because of what he did of so convincingly beating Leclerc in such a historic team. Carlos Sainz is my driver of the season.
Me, I would be. I'm actually in the sort of same boat between Carlos Sainz and Max Verstappen. Obviously, I really liked Carlos Sainz last season with McLaren, with him and Lando. I thought even last season he had a really good performance. Max, obviously, on paper, once again, is the standout champion. And if I was the FIA awards right now, I would be giving it to Max Verstappen. But I'm too going to give it to Carlos Sainz, just based off of sheer merit that he managed to do exactly what I pretty much summed up earlier. How he was able to just go into that team, dominate, and really put a sinking hole in Charles Leclerc's boat to say, thinking he was going to be number 2 driver, but he went in there and was like, nah, I'm coming for number 1, baby.
Yeah, we'll move on now to the Team of the Season awards. Of course, the Constructors' Championship was won by Mercedes, but they are joined by Red Bull, Ferrari, and McLaren, and I think we'll even throw Williams in there as well as a contender because of the progress they made. But Ryan, we'll not dwell on this one too long. For me, I'm going to go Ferrari as my Team of the Season because after what's been a very dismal few years for them, they've come back this year. They claimed P3 in the championship and brought a very good fight to McLaren, and they've stood in the podium a few times, and they've got a fantastic driver pairing, and the mistakes that Matteo Binotto has made in the past, he has made this season, and I think Ferrari going into next season definitely are a team to watch.
I was going to say the Ferrari team. However, I'm going to say McLaren, only just based off of the fact that if we look back even to 2016, 2017, 2018, before 2019, those 3 years were abysmal with them and the Honda partnership. We've then seen 2019, 2020 and 2021 happen, and we've seen some things happen. We've seen that team progress with the Renault engines for 2 years and the Mercedes engine for this year. And with their driver pairing, it's safe to say that that team has progressed massively to the point where they've won their first race, I think, was it since 2007? I'm going to guess 2007.
I think it was 2011, Jenson Button.
2011? Okay,
I
well, I'm
think.
a wee bit off. But anyway, that's still a long time, you know. I think
No, 2012, sorry, 2012.
2012. Oh, I'm way off.
Because obviously, because Hamilton won the title in 2008 with them.
Oh, yeah. Fair enough. Whoops. I forgot that was that. I forgot that Mercedes wasn't a thing until after 2010, sorry.
Yeah.
Yikes. Big mistake from me. Uh-oh. But anyway, McLaren, you know, they've had their ups and downs, and they've had ups for the last 5 years. Well, I suppose 3 years, realistically. They've had ups, but each year they've sort of progressed a little bit more than the last. And this year we've really seen them go that extra mile, win a race, a few podiums here and there. You know, overall, I felt that McLaren were able to bring the fight to Ferrari in the midfield, and overall, I feel that they've finally reached the point where they can finally. Whoa, what am I doing here? I'm looping on myself. They've reached the point where they can finally say they have accomplished something great again. Not Donald Trump, but I'm just saying they've accomplished something good again. So I'm going to pick McLaren.
Okay, so this first one we're going against each other with, but again, I can see your reasoning behind McLaren. I was between them and Ferrari, to be honest, as well. But move now to our underrated star of the season, and the nominees for this one is Esteban Ocon, Lando Norris, and Sergio Perez. This category I decided to go for was a driver who we know is a very talented driver, but his performances didn't often get the headlines that sort of they deserved, and I'll go for Esteban Ocon for this one because I think he's been under a lot of pressure recently, and especially with Oscar Piastri being so good in Formula 2, they really needed to justify why he was in that seat alongside Fernando Alonso, and I think Esteban Ocon this year was fantastic. He had a few moments where he wasn't so good, but overall I think he had a very good season, and he's very much worthy of staying in the sport, and potentially could be Hamilton's replacement if things don't go plan this season for Mercedes. So Ryan, who would you choose from that list of Ocon, Norris and Perez as your underrated star of the season?
I'm going to go very not controversial, but out of them three, I'm going to have to stick with the one person who I feel would deserve it the most, in my own opinion. Obviously, this is my opinion and will not agree with any other single person about. But Sergio Perez, based off of the fact that he managed to pick up the pieces in that race. Oh, I'm going to get that wrong as well. Was it Azerbaijan?
Yeah, he won in Azerbaijan, yes.
Yes, that's the race after Max's tyre just exploded. That race, yes?
Yes.
Yes, I'm correct.
That's right. He kicked the car.
I'm 2 for 2. Obviously, he took the fight, he picked up the pieces for Red Bull, and he managed to win that race. Obviously, we had that same incident with Lewis and his magic button, but he managed to secure that first place. He also got his, he finally got his Mexican podium in Mexico. The first half of the season was sluggish, but was getting better. And then the second half of the season, he really started to, switch on a bit better. If you compare the second drivers between Mercedes, which would be considered the best team, and Red Bull would be considered the second best team, even in terms of constructors, this season, it's still the same case. We even seen Valtteri Bottas really struggled in comparison to Sergio Perez. So based off of that fact alone is why I'm giving it to Sergio Perez, because he managed to take that second seat after not having a seat at all for this season. He managed to get that contract with the departure of Alexander Albon, which he will be back, thankfully, with Williams this season. But I feel that Sergio got into that car, which we've seen Gasly struggle with and Albon struggle with, and he actually took the fight to the ball. He put the reins on the ball and managed to keep it steady for pretty much the whole season. I can't think of really any moments where he's had any sort of big spins or even anything major, apart from maybe testing or pre-season testing. But obviously everyone's pushing their car. So yeah, keep it short and simple. Sergio Perez is my underrated star of the season.
Okay, and we'll move very swiftly on to a category that I think we'll both know the answer to straight away. The worst driver of the season. The nominees are Antonio Giovinazzi, Mick Schumacher, Nicholas Latifi, and Nikita Mazepin. So Ryan, why have you chose Nikita Mazepin?
I was going to say, why did you read out the other three? The nominees are Nikita Mazepin, Nikita Mazepin, Nikita Mazepin, yes, and Nikita Mazepin. So I'm going to choose Nikita Mazepin because it has an S in it, because it's funny, because that's what he is. He's a spinning top.
Yes. And we'll move swiftly on to the next category to our favourite livery of the season. There were so many nice liveries, a couple of special ones throughout the year. But I picked the nominees for this one, as I did pretty much all the categories. And Ryan sort of agreed with most of them.
Yes.
But the McLaren Monaco edition, the Alpine livery for the entire season, the Red Bull, it was their Japanese livery that, what circuit? It was the Turkish Grand Prix they ran that on, and the Aston Martin overall season one. Right, I am torn between the McLaren Monaco and the Red Bull Japanese inspired livery, but I'm going with the Gulf livery from Monaco because it is just simply spectacular.
I hate you for that, because I remember we're actually missing a livery. Just to point out, I actually missed one when I was inputting these. Because if you cast your mind back to February, when we first started looking at these liveries being launched. Now, if we just obviously take out of the season and we look back at the very start of the season when they were announced, what livery were we in awe of that was like, oh my, this is perfect. This is the most aesthetically pleasing design, and it's not on our list. Do you remember what it is?
I'm tempted to say the Haas livery.
No, it was Alfa Romeo.
Yeah,
Everything just worked nicely.
Yes.
The contrast in colours, the nice metallic red. I was in awe with that car when it was first announced. And then I seen the Aston Martin. Obviously, it didn't have the pink stripe. It had the lime green stripe. And that, to me, would have put it at the top of my livery of the season. Apart from the fact that there was the special liveries. And oh my. That Gulf livery, I was... you see it all the time on the Le Mans car. And you're like, oh my god, that's so nice. But then Red Bull came out of nowhere in the Turkish Grand Prix and was like, oh hiya, this was supposed to be the date for Japan. So we're going to put our Japanese livery on for Honda. And we're just going to go, haha, we win. So I'm giving it to Red Bull Japan.
Okay. Yeah, it was a very nice livery.
Oh, it was beautiful. That white contrasted so well with the Red Bull red and yellow. So good.
We'll move on to race of the season, and this one is a little bit difficult to choose the nominees for it. So what I've done is I've used the actual F1 fan voted races, and it's the Italian Grand Prix, the Brazilian Grand Prix, or the Sao Paulo Grand Prix, the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, and the Hungarian Grand Prix. Ryan, I'm tempted. I'm torn between Brazil and Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi purely for the hype around it and the fact of, if you take out the incident itself and look at it from an excitement point of view, a last lap overtake for the championship was incredible.
Yes.
But from the F1, from a fan's point of view, looking at the sport, it was awful. It was the worst
Dreadful.
decision I've seen in a long time. And I think a lot of the reason why it's on this list is for Verstappen fans voting for it online. But it was out of context. It was a fantastic race from an F1 point of view. It was awful. That's why I'm going to go for Sao Paulo the whole weekend in general, because that Hamilton comeback fight was sensational. I think it's one of his best ever drives.
I hate you for that. I was gonna say that.
You can still say we've agreed on a lot today. Well, actually,
Yeah,
we've only agreed on two, but
well, I don't know if you read it, but because it's on another page. But the Hungarian Grand Prix is there.
Yes,
you
yes,
forgot about
yes.
that.
Yeah,
I think you need to go get your eyes checked.
Well, that was the. I'm just looking at it because it was the.
I wouldn't actually. It doesn't qualify because it wasn't a race. It was not a race.
That was Belgium.
Ah, damn it!
2 to 3, not too bad, Ryan.
2 out of
Progress
3.
for you.
2 out of 3. I got mixed up. Hungary.
Looking at it, yeah, because you've got that was
I remember now.
Ocon's one.
Yes, I remember.
And then
now.
you've got Perez's one. Verstappen won the title. Hamilton's comeback. Ricciardo's one. So I think it just really shows how crazy this entire season was.
I think it also shows how little my retention of long-term knowledge is.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a McLaren guy, so I was actually torn between the Italian Grand Prix and the Brazilian Grand Prix just solely because of Lewis's drive. You know, he got so many knockbacks. He was set back. He was literally punished as much as possible to not win that race, and still won the race. For the Brazilian fans who were at the track, that was probably unreal to watch. For the people on TV who were Hamilton fans, that was probably unreal to watch. But I like the Italian Grand Prix. But I'm going to agree with you here. I'm going with the Brazilian Grand Prix.
Okay. And we'll move on. Well, we'll start with this one. I think it's pretty clear on who we're going to agree on. Worst moment of the season. And I think if we give it to anything other than Michael Massey's last lap decision, because heated debates, because that was the other nominees that I put down is Verstappen brake check and Hamilton, and Verstappen ending up in the wall at Cops Corner, and and then Ryan, that one, where Verstappen ended on top of Hamilton, the Italian Grand Prix. So there's a common theme between the battles of Hamilton and Verstappen, but I think the fairest one is giving it to Michael Massey as the worst moment of the season, because that was dreadful.
The funniest thing is, right, out of all of our worst moments, only one of them is different. Every other one involves Lewis and Max, which is kind of funny. So yeah, Michael Massey, we're sorry, but you need to pick up the pieces here. Your puzzle's all on the floor. Your puzzle is your job, so you need to build it quick.
And if you've made it this far in the podcast and don't know who Michael Massey is, we have a great video on our YouTube channel, cheeky plug for that, which has done incredibly well since Abu Dhabi. So thank you to Michael Massey for allowing us to have the video get as many views as it does. It'll be linked on the channel somewhere, just about his career up until the start of I think it was July last year made that, or it was the start of the season. So yeah, it's but thank you for everyone that's watched that in all seriousness. But our final category, Ryan, is best moment of the season, and I think we're going to agree on this one as well. But the nominees are Esteban Ocon claiming victory, Daniel Ricciardo claiming victory, Alonso returning to the podium, George Russell's front row in Belgium. We should also throw in Hamilton's amazing race in Brazil, but I think for me the winner has to be Martin Brundle's grid walk returning with Megan Thee Stallion. That for me was the best moment I've seen in a long time.
I think it was the best moment in terms of publicity. If you think about it, more people now know who Martin Brundle is and why he said it the way he said it, and why his line, I said that because I can. why it actually makes sense. Because he can. He's Martin Brundle. You don't do that to Martin Brundle.
No.
It got so much media attention around, I think, in nearly every country, which is probably the most widespread thing to come from Formula One in recent, mainly because Megan Thee Stallion, big, I wouldn't say pop. Would you say pop, rap, pop? Something along there. It's mainly it's rap.
Music
rap.
star.
Yes, music star. That's the best way to put it. She's got a big following, and obviously people who then see she's wrapped up in this, and then they're like, oh wait, she was at a Formula One event, and then they're like, what's Formula One? Oh cool, this is Formula One. Cars go nyong 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 nyong. Can't forget that guy. That should have been a moment. We need to bring that. Someone needs to do that again. The nyong guy. Why am I going on a tangent? This happens all the time.
Yeah, back to Gridwalks.
Back to Gridwalk. Why it was the best moment? Because it was.
Yes, very simply, it was. So that is our awards for this year. Of course, leave in the comment section below any you agree with, any you disagree with, and any obscure choices that we may have missed out. We said in the last podcast that we would tell you who won the predictions battle, but I'm still working my way through all the podcasts trying to work that out because there's so many ones where we have to actually debate. So we're going to do that amongst ourselves, and then we'll post it on Twitter and inform you in the first podcast of season 3, which won't be too long away. We're still not fully agreed on what we're going to do for this upcoming season, but there will be podcasts in some shape or form. So yeah, Ryan, thank you for joining me through the entirety of this season. As you said, it was an interesting season. It was a fantastic season with a controversial end that I think just summed up the season in general. So yeah, Ryan, any final words before we end out this podcast?
Of course there is. There's always final words at the end of every podcast that involves me. Pre-season testing, Mazepin will spin.
Oh, how many times?
7.
7, okay.
Over the 3 days.
Yeah, and I'll add another 7 on top of that for the second 3 days, so 14 massive spins in total. So yeah, Ryan, again, thank you for joining me. The links to all the social media accounts will be in the description below. We're also in the charts in various countries around the world, which is just incredible.
International, baby.
Yes, just us sitting in our rooms, chatting about Formula 1, a sport that we love. For something that we've created and worked on over time is incredible. So thank you to everyone for your support since we started, and especially this year. The past few podcasts have really taken off for us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, so a big thank you for that. And we hope you all join us for season 3, episode 31 overall of the podcast, which is still crazy. This is episode 30. I've been Richard Smyth, joined by Ryan Caldwell, and we hope you join us for season 3. Goodbye.